Starting today, Mason, April, and their baby will be living with us. We don't need anyone else. That's what we decided at the family meeting. Judging by Kyle's tone, he wasn't joking. I don't know who you are, but get out of this house, old hag. From now on, we'll work together as a family. So get out of here soon. There's not even a room for you. Mason and April said this while making shooing gestures, mocking me. Even I reached my boiling point. But I calmed down, and facing those three, I laughed softly. It's ridiculous to stand on the same stage as these people, to rise to their provocations, and to get angry. Besides, I pay $2,500 for living expenses. They've forgotten about that and want to kick me out. What are they planning to do? Fine. I'll divorce you, too. I'll leave as you wish. At my words, the three of them grinned nastily. I turned away, left the living room, and locked myself in my room. Your stuff is trash. Take it all with you. Kyle shouted from the living room. Without responding, I began to silently pack my belongings. My name is Nora. I'm 65 years old. I married Kyle and have worked part-time, but now I'm a homemaker and also work from home. I met Kyle when he hit on me. I was a college student at the time. Kyle, who was 7 years older than me and already working, approached me, saying he had fallen in love at first sight. Having never dated before, I was very cautious and kept avoiding Kyle. But he persistently came over and talked to me whenever we met. Sometimes it was just greetings, but if he had time, we'd chat. I reluctantly listened, but he finally realized my disinterest and said to me, I didn't mean to bother you. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. With those words, I realized his genuine feelings and decided to face him. Eventually, I started to feel attracted to Kyle, too. We got married right after I graduated from college and were blessed with our daughter Nancy and son Mason. Kyle, who loves children, was very supportive in raising them, and we lived happily as a family. However, that happiness didn't last long. When Mason entered middle school, I started working part-time again, and that's when I heard something unbelievable. It was my senior colleague, Amanda Taylor, who told me. She was just a year older than me, also had kids. She was also caring, straightforward and kind, so we became close. One day, we finished work at the same time and were walking home together when she said, By the way, I got hit on at this station a long time ago. It was the station where Kyle and I met. I thought it was a strange coincidence and listened as Amanda continued. My friends and juniors were also hit on by the same guy. It became a topic among us, and we observed that he was hitting on many girls. Really? There was someone like that? Amazing. Isn't it? And he was always hitting on girls much younger than himself. Amanda laughed heartily, so I couldn't help but laugh with her. Rumor has it, he ended up marrying a young girl he picked up. At that moment, I felt a bad premonition. I suddenly felt ashamed of meeting Kyle at that station. But Kyle fell in love with me at first sight and happened to meet me there. He was different from that pickup artist. I wanted to believe that, but my hope was shattered. Apparently, he told everyone he fell in love at first sight. The girl who got tricked into marrying him is really pitiful. Amanda kept talking, but nothing registered in my mind. Once I realized that the pickup artist was Kyle, I couldn't think of anything else. I felt utterly ashamed for believing Kyle's words and being so easily deceived. Of course, I knew Amanda didn't mean any harm. She had no idea that my husband was Kyle. Nora? You look pale. Amanda's concerned voice brought me out of my silence. Oh, I'm fine. I was just thinking about what to make for dinner tonight. It's tough every day, isn't it? I need to figure out dinner, too. I said that just to change the subject, and it worked. But I couldn't stop thinking about it, and made several mistakes during my afternoon shift. Later that night after dinner, once the kids were asleep, I spoke to Kyle. I heard something interesting from a friend at work today. Something interesting? What is it? Kyle listened attentively. Surely, this kind and gentle husband couldn't be the same as that despicable pickup artist. I hoped it would turn into a funny story. I thought that, but I opened my mouth, seeking reassurance. I heard that there was a guy at the station where we met who would hit on younger girls, claiming love at first sight. Really? And he even married one of those girls. I laughed, but Kyle didn't. I just wanted reassurance, but instead, my anxiety grew. It was just a coincidence, right? You did fall in love with me at first sight, didn't you? My voice trembled more than I expected. Kyle suddenly chuckled. But then he said, love at first sight, no way. You were just the only one who fell for it. He laughed in front of my trembling self. That coworker of yours said too much. You would have been happier not knowing. That's horrible. So you tricked me into marrying you? Was your love for me all a lie? I couldn't help but raise my voice at Kyle, who still found it amusing. But Kyle, without caring about my feelings, said something even more hurtful. Whoever gets tricked is at fault, right? I wanted a young, naive girl who'd fall for a pickup line, so I chose you. That statement was proof that Kyle knew he had deceived me all along. Well, you would have ended up with some terrible guy anyway, so you're lucky it was me. I'm going to bed, I have work tomorrow. With that, he turned over and went to bed. I knew I had been a fool, but his lack of any comfort for me in my shock was unbearable. I thought he loved me, but now I realized he didn't care who he married. It was infuriating. When we got married, my father-in-law said, I'm relieved he finally got married. My mother-in-law added, and to such a young girl. I'm so happy. I thought they were complimenting me, but now I knew they had been pressuring Kyle to marry. Even so, knowing the truth now, I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't feel love anymore, but our marriage wasn't bad, and with the kids at sensitive ages, I couldn't consider getting a divorce. It was painful to accept that I had been deceived into marrying, but I told myself I had to endure it. Over time, I managed to move on, and even without love for Kyle, I cared for him as family. Since learning the truth, our marriage was strained, and Kyle spent his days off avoiding me at the casino. Despite everything, I didn't think about divorce anymore, and I kept busy with work from home after quitting my part-time job. The kids grew up quickly, and both found jobs locally after college. Nancy married a coworker and had a child, living far away, so we don't see them often, but they're happy. The problem is Mason. After graduating from college, Mason got a job but quit soon after. That company wasn't a good fit for me. The boss kept piling work on me, and the part-timers were all useless chatterboxes. He kept complaining like that, so at first, I thought it was just a bad match with the company and his boss. I see. That sounds tough. I'm sure you'll find a company that suits you, Mason, I said, supporting his decision to find another job. Mason did find another job, but he soon quit again. This pattern repeated. By the time he was 30, I had lost count of how many jobs he had gone through. I wanted to defend my child, but quitting jobs so quickly made Mason seem nothing but being selfish. Being a full-time employee doesn't suit me. It's too much responsibility for too little pay. Part-time is enough for me. If the customers or headquarters piss me off, I can just quit. In the end, Mason settled into a series of part-time jobs. Of course, this didn't cover his living expenses. He lived at home, didn't contribute to food or utilities, and spent all his earnings as his pocket money. Mason, you're over 30. You can't keep living like this forever. I tried to reason with him several times. Even if you're not a full-time employee, at least stick to one part-time job. Your hourly wage won't go up if you keep changing jobs. Patience is important, too. But no matter how much I worried, it was like talking to a brick wall. Kyle, on the other hand, would say, "Don't worry. He's our eldest son. We'll take care of him. Maybe that's fine for now. But isn't he worried about our son's future?" Dad is understanding. Mason relied on Kyle and showed no signs of changing his lifestyle as a part-time worker. Then, at 34, Mason suddenly announced he was moving out. It seemed he was planning to get married. He also found a full-time job. Actually, my girlfriend is pregnant. So, I need to step up. Mason said that to us. I was very happy to hear this. Not only was Mason becoming independent, but I was relieved he was getting married and excited about having a grandchild. Mason's fiancée was a girl named April, 7 years younger than him. Since Kyle and I also had a 7-year age difference, Mason joked that it runs in the family. April was coming over to introduce herself. "Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me." She brought a cake from Kyle's favorite store, and her appearance was neat and clean, giving a good first impression. "April, nice to meet you too." I greeted with a smile, and April smiled back. But it wasn't a warm smile. There was something about her smile that felt mocking, making me feel uneasy. Oh. Sorry. I just remembered the love at first sight story. The love at first sight story? I was confused, but Kyle and Mason burst out laughing. "Oh, the story about Mom getting tricked. Come on, Mason." I wanted to tell her myself. They were referring to how Kyle and I met. I didn't even know Mason knew about it, let alone that he had told April. I was mortified, but also filled with disgust toward the three of them. April, looking triumphant, spoke to me again. "Rest assured, Mason truly loves me. You don't need to worry." Is that something you say to your future mother-in-law upon first meeting? Or perhaps she said it to put me in my place because I would be her mother-in-law. April, you're a funny one. And beautiful, too. You must have got guys falling all over you, right? Yeah, Dad, you must feel relieved having a daughter-in-law like April. That's great. I'll do my best to be a wonderful wife. The three of them began chatting, excluding me, who stood there in shock. Even in that moment, I didn't miss April's mocking glance. With Mason and Kyle on her side, she seemed to assert her superiority over me. April was someone who only cared about appearances and embodied the worst traits in women. Mason and April got married and started living in an apartment not far from us. Despite everything, I was satisfied as long as Mason was happy. They also had a beautiful baby together safely. A healthy little girl. I thought Mason would need to work even harder now, but then something happened. One day, as I returned home from grocery shopping, I heard a baby crying inside. I rushed in, thinking Mason's family had come to visit. Sure enough, Mason, April, and my granddaughter were there. "Oh, you're here. You should have called." I happily dropped my bags and ran to my granddaughter. But April's cold voice stopped me. "Ah, who are you again?" "What?" I froze at her words. I didn't understand what she meant. Mason laughed loudly at her words. Kyle then spoke in a serious tone. "Starting today, Mason, April, and their baby will be living with us. We don't need anyone else. That's what we decided at the family meeting." Huh? Judging by Kyle's tone, he wasn't joking. "I don't know who you are, but get out of this house, old hag. From now on, we'll work together as a family. So get out of here soon. There's not even a room for you." Mason and April said this while making shooing gestures, mocking me. Anyway, it was a mistake for us to get married in the first place. And with Kyle's comment, the three of them laughed again, pushing me to my boiling point. I had no reason to tolerate such mockery. But I calmed down, faced the three of them, and laughed softly. It's ridiculous to stand on the same stage as these people, to rise to their provocations, and to get angry. Besides, I pay $2,500 for living expenses. They've forgotten about that and want to kick me out. What are they planning to do? Fine. I'll divorce you, too. I'll leave as you wish. At my words, the three of them grinned nastily. I turned away, left the living room, and locked myself in my room. "Your stuff is trash. Take it all with you," Kyle shouted from the living room. Without responding, I began to silently pack my belongings. The next day, I called a removal company. Since it was an unbusy weekday, they could move my stuff out that evening. "Please come as soon as possible," I replied, and decided to move out that very day. I just wanted to leave this house quickly. That was the only thing I wanted. As I busily prepared to leave, Kyle watched and laughed. "Where does a jobless old hag think she's going? I'd forgive you if you apologized." I completely ignored his words. I couldn't understand why I should apologize when I had done nothing wrong. I'm just going to get out of your way and go to the casino, Kyle said as he left the house around noon, having been ignored by me. I thought a simple, thank you for everything would have been nice, but expecting anything from him was foolish. All right then. Goodbye, I said, watching Kyle's back as he left the house. A few hours later, the movers arrived and helped me carry everything out. I contacted the real estate agent, got the keys, moved everything in, and the move was complete. There was still some unpacking left, but I was relieved to have successfully moved out. All that remained was to file for divorce, and I would be free. Feeling liberated, I lay down on the sofa when my phone rang. It was Kyle. Hello? As soon as I answered, Kyle yelled angrily on the other end. What the hell is going on? What are you thinking? Startled by his sudden shouting, I moved the phone away from my ear. Taking a deep breath, I responded. What is it? Why are you so angry? Don't play dumb. What kind of joke is this? You took all the furniture and appliances. The house is empty. I was puzzled by his words. I slowly looked around the room. This room had all the furniture and appliances I brought from the house. But nothing seemed out of place. What's wrong with that? You told me not to leave any of my stuff behind. What? Yes, all the furniture and appliances in that house were bought with my money. In other words, they are my possessions. Did you think they were yours? I bought them with my own money. I laughed heartily. Kyle on the other end of the line was speechless, his breath catching. You probably got cocky because Mason and April were there, and you thought you could kick me out, but you weren't seeing the reality. Well, you can have the appliances, at least. Kyle said desperately, but I didn't let it slide. Have them? They were mine to begin with. Don't get cocky. Kyle fell silent again, clearly flustered. I couldn't help but laugh at how easy it was to see his frustration. Shut up. Anyway, this is the end of our relationship. Don't ever contact me again. With that, he hung up. Even though he was the one who called, he probably forgot that in his frustration. I couldn't stop laughing, alone in my new home. I didn't take his desperate, don't contact me seriously, but I did need to file divorce, so I had to contact him. It was annoying, but the next day, after visiting the lawyers, I planned to go back to the house. As I left the lawyer's office feeling gloomy, I heard someone call my name and stopped. Nora. It is you, isn't it? Amanda. It was Amanda, the colleague I had been close with when I worked part-time. We had each other's contact information, but we had only met a few times since I left, and hadn't seen each other in years. Still, it was a joy to reunite after so long. We decided to have coffee and went into a nearby cafe. After reminiscing about old times, Amanda asked, "Did you have any business at the lawyer's office?" At her words, I ended up telling her everything. I explained how I had fallen for and married the player she had told me about, and then being kicked out of the house by him, my son, and his wife. I laughed as I spoke, but Amanda was disheartened on my behalf. I see. I'm so sorry for saying something unnecessary. I didn't mean to cause trouble. She looked so apologetic, but I was actually grateful. Sure, it was shocking to find out at first, and back then I was too embarrassed and ashamed to talk about it. But now, I'm glad I found out. I would have ended my life being ridiculed otherwise. I'm not lying about that feeling. There were times I thought it would have been better to stay ignorant, but only if Kyle had regretted his past. Knowing Kyle's personality, I realized that if I had stayed unaware, I would have been mocked even more. The fact that I am able to take action while I am still capable is thanks to the fact that I discovered Kyle's true nature back then. But what about you, Amanda? Did you come to the lawyer's office for something? At my question, Amanda hesitated for a moment before speaking. It's actually about my son. Your son? Didn't you have a daughter? After I quit the part-time job, I had another child. It's about him. I came for free legal consultation. It turned out her son was having trouble with his girlfriend. Every family has its own issues, I thought, as we chatted and then parted ways. When I got back home, Mason's family was there. It seemed they were moving in. Hey, you crazy old hag, what do you mean by taking all the furniture and appliances? Are you out of your mind? It seems they really intended to live there. Mason and April glared at me as I entered. Where the large refrigerator had been, there was now a tiny one, probably from their apartment. I couldn't help but laugh at the sight. What's so funny? Nothing. April seemed to understand why I was laughing and angrily confronted me. Ignoring her, I asked Mason. Where's your father? In the bedroom. The baby's sleeping, so don't make any noise. Apparently, Kyle was babysitting his granddaughter, according to Mason. He had indeed taken good care of the kids when they were little. Back then, I was still feeling happy. Remembering those days, I headed to the bedroom. I've been to see a lawyer. They will get in touch with you to file divorce. As soon as I entered the bedroom, I said this. Kyle glanced at me, clicked his tongue, and quietly got up. He had been trimming the baby's nails while she slept on the bed. You ruined my relaxation time, old hag. He muttered. Ignoring Kyle, I looked at my granddaughter's sleeping face. Despite my son's faults, she was still my granddaughter. And I couldn't help but find her adorable. But as I peeked in with a smile on my face, I saw her face and my blood ran cold. Her small, cute face. It looked exactly like Amanda's. I remembered what Amanda had told me earlier. The trouble Amanda mentioned was that her son's girlfriend got pregnant, lied about getting an abortion to get money, and then disappeared. Amanda had confided in me about this just a few hours ago, when I thought every family had its troubles. But now, I wondered if the one who tricked Amanda's son out of money was April. That's what I suspected. If my suspicion was correct, this child might not even be Mason's. Thinking about this made me turn pale, and Kyle spoke to me. Okay, I will agree with the divorce. Now get out. Ah, okay. And take this with you. You probably won't see this child again, but you can keep it if you want. Kyle handed me a tissue containing our granddaughter's nail clippings. I took it silently and quickly left the house. I immediately contacted Amanda. A month later, I received another call on my phone. It was Kyle again. Hey, we got a notice that the electric and gas bills are unpaid. What's going on? He was once again yelling at me, taking out his anger on me. I don't know. Pay it yourself. Where's the money? Where's the bank card? I could hear the sound of him rummaging through the house. The image of Kyle frantically searching for the bank card made me laugh. What's so funny? Get over here. The house is a mess because of you. With that, he hung up. Although I didn't want to, I had to meet him for other reasons as well. Reluctantly, I got up and made a call to someone. That evening, I rang the doorbell at the house. You're late. What were you doing, you bum? Kyle must have seen me on the monitor because he burst out of the house, only to freeze when he saw who was with me. Who is this? This is my friend. Nice to see you again. Amanda said deliberately. But Kyle just tilted his head in confusion. Of course, you wouldn't remember the faces of the girls you hit on. Amanda laughed. I laughed too. Kyle's face twisted with embarrassment as he glared at me. What kind of prank is this? Bringing a girl I hit on to bother me? I'm not here for childish games. I came to see April. Excuse us. Amanda and I entered the house. As expected, Mason and April were lounging in the living room. They seemed quite comfortable in the house without me. When they saw me, they looked annoyed, as if thinking here comes trouble. I didn't want to be here either. So, you're April, right? Amanda looked at April and spoke. Huh? Who are you? An acquaintance of this old hag? What are you doing in our house? You're not even family. April sneered at Amanda. Amanda looked incredulous but quickly responded. I've been looking for you. Your surname change made it hard to find you. Hey, old hag, what do you want with April? Mason stood up. Amanda handed him an envelope. With a puzzled expression, Mason took out a document from inside. Mark Taylor? What's this? Genetic Research Institute? Mason read the name on the document. Mark was Amanda's son's name. As soon as April heard that name, she turned pale and grabbed the document from Mason. What are you doing, April? You shouldn't be looking at other people's document, she said, clearly flustered. April seemed to know who Amanda was and what the document contained. We had a DNA test done between my son and April's daughter. What? Your child is my son's. I'm sorry, but she isn't related to Mason. Amanda's words made Mason turn pale and freeze. April stood there, pale and motionless. What's going on? Kyle, who had been listening quietly, now joined the conversation. I smiled and said, I treasured the baby's fingernails you gave me and used them. Yes, I had given Amanda the nail clippings Kyle had forced on me. I also told her how the granddaughter resembled Amanda. Considering April's deceitful nature, it wasn't surprising that she had scammed someone for abortion money. Amanda discreetly sent Mark's toothbrush and the nail clippings to a testing facility. The results confirmed a parent-child relationship between the two. However, Amanda hadn't yet told her son about this. Amanda's son was deeply worried about the baby he believed had been born. If he found out now, he would be unable to sit still. Amanda wanted to confirm the situation herself before breaking the news to her son to spare him any potential shock. This can't be. She's not my child? There must be some mistake. Mason was devastated upon learning the truth. You poor thing. You were deceived into marriage, thinking you were loved. Amanda spoke to Mason in a soft, but firm voice. Those were the same words April had thrown at me. I had been deceived into marrying Kyle. Hearing the same words directed at Mason made me want to laugh at the irony. I can't believe she isn't my granddaughter. Kyle, also in shock, crouched down. We will take custody of the child. There will be a trial. Wait. Please, no. But you'll be getting divorced soon, right? How will you support the child without a job? Also, you need to return the money for the abortion. April clung to Amanda's arm, crying and begging for forgiveness. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Amanda gently but firmly told April. You kicked Nora out and lied to this family. Do you think you can be forgiven? Despite Amanda's soft tone, her words were cold and left April speechless, sobbing uncontrollably. So, what about that bank card? Oh, right. I turned to Kyle. He was still in a daze, his eyes vacant. Before the grandchild was born, Kyle was ecstatic, calling the baby their hope for the future. Now, that hope was gone. I could understand his shock. But I had an even harsher reality to reveal. You have the bank card. There isn't another one. No way. Then how have we been paying for everything? The utilities? There must be a household account. I was paying the living expenses. $2,500 every month. But I have no intention of continuing that. My words made Mason look up. Kyle's eyes darted around in confusion. $2,500. Every month. Kyle's voice was full of astonishment, indicating he had never known. Yes. You didn't know? Well, you were spending it as you pleased. Kyle stared into the distance, perhaps reflecting on his actions. Did he really think I didn't notice? He had been spending his personal money on gambling and secretly taking from the grocery budget when he ran out. I had lost count of the times when the money I left for bills disappeared. Did you really think I didn't notice? Your wasteful spending increased our living costs. Kyle, now defensive, raised his voice. Even so, what about the savings account with the bonuses? You took that account years ago and spent it all on gambling. Don't you remember? Kyle's face fell as he realized the truth. He had likely forgotten. And assumed it was still there. I sighed in exasperation. I covered everything with my own money without saying a word. You had no idea how much you relied on me while kicking me out. Do you realize how despicable that is? You should regret it and live with that regret. Liar. Where would a poor woman like you get that kind of money? Kyle, unable to accept the truth, shouted at me. There was no point in arguing further. If you don't believe me, then fine. I turned my gaze to Mason. And Mason, you too. Huh? Mason, still reeling from the news about April and their daughter, looked at me with vacant eyes. Jumping from one part-time job to another, not contributing to the household. You lived off my money, yet you helped kick me out. Have you thought about what happens now? Your father has no savings. He's still working, but at his age, how much longer can he keep it up? Finally grasping the gravity of the situation, Mason started to tremble as if he had seen a ghost. You might have thought moving back home would save you money like when you were single. But kicking me out means you can't maintain the same lifestyle. No one responded. Only Amanda seemed satisfied, patting my shoulder. Having said my piece, I addressed her. Let's go. Yes. April, I'll be in touch. As we were leaving, Mason called out to me. Old. I mean, Mom. Where are you living now? Isn't it hard living alone? You could come back. His attempt to placate me with a forced smile was transparent. It had been years since he called me Mom. Clearly, he was trying to get back into my good graces. Seeing through his obvious ploy, I smiled slightly and said sarcastically. Not at all. I'm living in a high-rise condo now. It's much more comfortable than here. A high-rise condo. Yes, I bought it for $650,000. Don't worry, I've arranged for Nancy to inherit it if anything happens to me, so you won't be burdened. Kyle and Mason exchanged shocked glances. Kyle stared at me, blinking in disbelief. A $650,000 condo. Where did you get that kind of money? Are you really rich? Amanda looked puzzled by his reaction. Your family doesn't know you're a successful novelist? No, I never told them. They would have just mocked me. I see. They didn't know what they've got until it's gone. Amanda and I laughed together, but Kyle and Mason's expressions changed, and they tried to stop me from leaving. Nora, I was wrong. I didn't realize how hard you worked and how successful you were. I'm really sorry. Please come back. Their sudden change of heart was sickening. They switched to pleading voices, clinging to me. It's amazing that you're living in such a nice place. Please come back, Mom. If you can't, at least help us with the living expenses. Please. I was just fooled by that woman. Isn't that pitiful? Mason pointed to April, who sat dejectedly. April flinched, but it seemed she no longer had the energy to fight back. I felt a twinge of pity for her, but she had brought it upon herself, and I had no intention of helping. Yes, being deceived into marriage is pitiful. I looked back at Mason. Well then. So you'll have to manage on your own, won't you? It's your fault for being deceived. I used the same words Kyle and Mason had thrown at me countless times to push them away. They seemed to finally realize that I had abandoned them. Both sank into the sofa, stunned. Goodbye. I cheerfully said my farewell and left the house. They had never been interested in my life. Even when I told them I was paying the bills, they didn't believe me and treated me like a pauper. They mocked my home-based work, scoffing at the idea of making a living from home. They had no idea I was a novelist earning royalties and investing in real estate. Now, their sudden praise for my work was meaningless and unwelcome. April, who deceived and ousted me, and Kyle and Mason, who lost everything due to their arrogance and contempt. They were a fittingly miserable family, I thought with a laugh. After that, April and Mason divorced. It seems that April was evicted by Mason and Kyle but returned when she had no place to return to and was allowed to live there temporarily. Putting April aside, I guess neither Kyle nor Mason could abandon the baby. April must be living there with a heavy heart. Mason quit his job again. Without a wife or child to support, he forgot that he now had to support his father. In that moneyless house, how would they survive? I hoped they would live with regret for their actions. Amanda and her son Mark took April to court. They won custody of the daughter. Mark, an unmarried father, thanked me tearfully for helping him win custody. Amanda was also eager to start raising a child again. At our age, having something to strive for is enviable. Inspired, I opened my laptop. Perhaps my next story would be about a woman who was deceived into marriage but turned her life around and found happiness. As I looked at the beautiful night view from my condo, I thought it was a fitting story to write.